The relentless drone of the Northern Line was Arthur Finch's constant companion. From his cramped flat above a Finsbury Park kebab shop, the subterranean rumble was a familiar soundtrack to his unremarkable life. Arthur, a freelance graphic designer with a fondness for lukewarm Earl Grey, and a routine as predictable as the tube schedule, navigated his days with quiet diligence. He tweaked logos, chased invoices, and occasionally met his mate, Dave, for a pint in a dimly lit pub where conversations rarely ventured beyond football results and the latest Brexit fallout. He harbored no grand illusions, possessed no hidden talents, and remained blissfully unaware that beneath the relentless thrum of modern London, a dormant power stirred, its invisible threads subtly weaving into the fabric of his being. It began with the visions, fleeting, unsettling glimpses of a verdant, untamed landscape bathed in an ethereal light, under a sky choked with swirling mists. He walked through groves of ancient trees, felt the cool dampness of moss beneath his feet, and experienced a profound sense of belonging, a connection to something primal and wild that defied explanation. He'd snap back to reality with a jolt, the faint scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and woody, lingering in the air. He attributed them to stress, the inevitable consequence of staring at a screen for hours on end. But the visions grew more persistent, bleeding into his waking hours as fragmented images, a flash of polished amber, the intricate carving of intertwined vines, flickered at the periphery of his vision. One drizzly Tuesday afternoon, while waiting for the number 29 bus, the pavement beneath his worn trainers vibrated with a low, resonant hum. The air thickened, and for a disorienting moment, the faces of the commuters around him seemed to shimmer, replaced by indistinct figures clad in what looked like rough-spun wool and leather. He blinked, and they were gone, swallowed by the familiar rush of London life. He gripped his battered briefcase, his pulse quickening. Dave, a pragmatic plumber with a healthy dose of cynicism, listened to Arthur's increasingly strange tales with a raised eyebrow. "You need a proper holiday, mate. All that staring at pixels is frying your brain." Arthur knew Dave meant well, but he also knew this was more than just eye strain or an overactive imagination. There was a pull, a subtle current, drawing him towards something he couldn't articulate. The shift occurred during a rare visit to the British Museum. Arthur, usually unmoved by historical artifacts, found himself inexplicably drawn to a dimly lit gallery housing objects from pre-Roman Britain. His gaze locked onto a smooth amber pendant, its surface carved with swirling patterns that seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. As he stared, a sharp tingling sensation ran down his spine, and the air around him felt charged. A museum attendant, a quiet woman with kind eyes named Eleanor, noticed his fixed gaze. "Are you all right, sir?" she asked softly. Arthur shook his head, trying to dispel the strange feeling. I don't know. This pendant, it feels significant." Eleanor peered at the pendant. "Ah, that's from the Bronze Age. We believe those spirals represent the cycles of nature, the turning of the seasons. Some old legends even speak of a spirit of the wildwood, slumbering beneath the land, connected to the very life force of the forests." She smiled gently. "Just old tales, of course." But Arthur felt a jolt, a deep resonance that echoed the wildness in his visions. "Spirit of the wildwood." The words resonated with the ancient scent that sometimes clung to him. Over the following weeks, Arthur became a frequent visitor to the museum, immersing himself in books and artifacts related to Britain's ancient past. He learned about their rituals, their reverence for nature, their forgotten deities. One name kept recurring: Cernunnos, the horned god, a powerful figure associated with the forest, fertility, and the untamed aspects of the natural world. Myths spoke of his deep slumber, his essence woven into the very soil of the land, waiting for a time when the wild heart of Britain needed to beat again. The more Arthur delved, the more vivid the visions became. He saw moonlit clearings in ancient forests, felt the cool touch of moss and bark, and heard the rustling whispers of unseen creatures. He began experiencing peculiar occurrences in his daily life. Potted plants in his cramped flat would inexplicably burst into bloom overnight. During a particularly stressful encounter with a demanding client, a sudden gust of wind swept through his closed office, scattering papers, but somehow resolving the tense atmosphere. He even found a lost fox cub huddled in his building's stairwell one morning, perfectly unharmed. Fear mingled with a burgeoning sense of awe. Could it be possible? Could he, Arthur Finch, ordinary graphic designer, be somehow linked to a long-forgotten spirit of the wildwood? One misty evening, drawn by an inexplicable pull, Arthur found himself wandering towards Epping Forest on the outskirts of London. As he ventured deeper into the ancient woodland, the air grew thick with the scent of damp leaves and rich earth. The distant hum of the city faded, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the hoot of an owl. He reached a secluded clearing, the moonlight filtering through the dense canopy, casting long, dancing shadows. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient oak, its gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like the antlers of some colossal beast. At its base, nestled among the roots, he saw it, a piece of polished amber, radiating a warm inner glow, carved with the same spiraling patterns from the museum pendant. As he approached the oak, a feeling washed over him, not a sound, but a profound sense of presence, of ancient wisdom. The green heart remembers. The air around him seemed to shimmer. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, carrying the scent of wildflowers. Arthur felt a surge of energy coursing through him, a primal, earthy power that resonated deep within his being. Images flooded his mind, of forests teeming with life, of the earth breathing in rhythmic cycles, of a deep, untamed connection to the natural world. He reached out and touched the amber pendant. A wave of warmth spread through him, and the visions, the strange occurrences, they all coalesced into a startling and wondrous truth. He was not just Arthur Finch. He was a conduit, an unexpected awakening of a forgotten spirit woven into the very fabric of the land. Cernunnos was stirring, and Arthur Finch was his anchor, his unlikely resurgence in a world that had paved over the wild heart of Britain. Standing in the ancient clearing, with the distant glow of London on the horizon, Arthur felt the weight of this extraordinary connection settle upon him. The ordinary man was fading, replaced by something ancient and vital, something the concrete jungle was utterly unprepared for. The wildwood was awakening, and it was blooming within him.